Leaked sources from inside the Russian government have revealed that their huge new missile that was totally going to devastate the West was all just a PSYOP. In fact, it sounds like the head of the Russian military actually had to call and apologize to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is actually from sources inside Russia, identified by the Moscow Times, who've revealed that Russia's big Oreshnik strike was a carefully orchestrated PSYOP. Now, to be clear, the marginally improved intermediate-range ballistic missile launch itself was real, like that was a real missile, but IRBMs have been in existence for decades. I've talked about this in an earlier video, and there was really nothing technologically new about this, just the fact that most nations don't launch IRBMs with conventional warheads because you don't know that the warheads are non-nuclear until they detonate. And so the risk of confusion in most cases is absolutely not worth the risk of the potential benefits of hitting a target with an IRBM. This is something that, again, a cruise missile can do the same job. In fact, Russia's Kinzhal cruise missiles do the same job at a fraction of the cost. So then you ask yourself, why did Russia do this, right? And it says it alarmed and puzzled civilians and international observers, again, for the reasons we just talked about. But there was a press conference where Putin called it Russia's newest missile, which I guess technically true if it was the most recently manufactured. Any missile could be the newest missile. Just like every baby at some point was the youngest baby in the world. The Russian foreign minister, of course, had a stage. Then here's where the PSYOP begins. During a press conference, the Russian foreign ministry spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, took a call on stage in range of the microphones where someone on the other phone was saying, "Don't comment on questions regarding the new secret missile." This was all part of a plan, of course, to scare the West into submission, but what they really mean is the public of Western countries. Now, what I want to point out is, first off, guys, if you haven't subscribed, you really should. I have I'm still just so close to 400,000 subscribers. And I know that I have up to 1 million of you guys that are repeat watchers. So it would make a big difference for me if you did that. But also, if you want to support the channel in a more concrete way, you should become a member over on combatvetnews.com. This is my version of Patreon, where I, every Tuesday and Thursday, drop an exclusive combat video. This is stuff that leaks from the front lines of different conflicts around the world. We just took a look at some of the fighting in and around Syria. But more importantly, this is the best ways to keep me independent. You guys know that notoriously a lot of influencers are exposed as being on the payrolls of governments or big media companies. And I've been approached by both, and I've told them both to go where to go stick it. And that I can do that because you guys have my back. So if you want, check it out, combatvetnews.com. Link is in the description. Okay. So here's where things get into a big PSYOP. They said the propaganda to make it look like this was a super scary, super gee-whiz missile was a coordinated effort between government, military, and intelligence officials where they roped in PR experts. It was a response. They said the PR move came as a response to the West's decision to permit Ukraine to strike inside Russia with Western long-range weapons. Quote, this is from one of the Russian officials, a direct quote. They said, "This show was staged and presented to the public. From the dissemination of footage on social media to the foreign media coverage, it was all a Russian PSYOP," right? And of course, the experts that spoke off the record said there's no way that Russia ever could mass produce this thing. The weapon is still being tested, and Russia doesn't have the technological means to mass produce such a weapon. Of course, Putin said he was going to totally strike decision-making centers in Kiev with his new Oreshnik, which isn't really possible if you can't build the thing. And again, like Russia's Kinzhals and other, they have existing arsenals that do the same job cheaper, way cheaper. So what am I trying to say here? Well, one, if you consumed media from a source that hyped up the Oreshnik as a game changer, world beater, absolute destroyer, you should take that source and you should throw it directly into the trash because it means that it's been compromised by Russian intelligence or the Russian government. And that it's either literally compromised or it's too stupid to discern real news from blatant propaganda. Again, this is one of those things. If you watch my video, you should pat yourself on the back. But the fact that it was, because I'm out here trying to shout truth into the void. But here's the thing. Russia itself knows that they may have pushed things a little too far. Why? Because Russia's chief of the general staff, Valery Gerasimov, actually picked up the phone and called the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles Q. Brown. This took place weeks ago, just 6 days after Russia launched their Oreshnik, allegedly in response to Ukraine's use of American and British weapons to strike Russian territory. But in that conversation, Gerasimov informed Charlie Brown that the launch of the Oreshnik was planned long before the administration agreed to allow Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles against military targets inside Russia. So he was saying, oh, sorry, we know you may have seen this news report, but don't worry, it's not true. He literally called and said, no, guys, if you read this, FYI, it's a PSYOP. Why is that? It's because Russia wants to get you, the public, to think that they're on the brink of nuclear war. But when they have to talk to the United States, an actual nuclear adversary, the U.S. government, they want to do everything in their power to avoid miscommunications and escalations, right? And so, interestingly enough, General Brown told reporters at Gerasimov's request, General Brown agreed not to announce the call in advance. So, this is the takeaway, guys, is that there is an absolute pervasion of Russian propaganda that just is all over the place. And again, this is something where I had a whole video explaining why the Oreshnik's going to end the world is just Russian shilling. So you should really be very careful with your sources here, particularly if you get them on social media platforms that offer less regulation and that don't really try to curate. Again, YouTube's guilty of it too. I get suggested all of these videos, and that's why I made mine. But it's hard. At the end of the day, Russia knows that if you want to get people clicking on a headline, words like nuclear war, unstoppable missile, brink of annihilation, all of these phrases just get people to click. Because frankly, wouldn't you want to know if you're on the brink of annihilation? And is it less important when something says, this isn't that big a deal? So anyway, guys, that's all I had. Again, thank you to our Colonel tier members like Bill Collier, Robert Colburn, Gars, Marnie, Gina Questa, Chris Gorsuch, Francis Karius, L90, Pecha Taru, all of our Lieutenant tier members. And that's all I had. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.